This is the sprint video for fall quarter 2016 for Guide. This quarter, we pivoted from our previous project action plans and started to focus more on the problem of learners transitioning from learning the concepts that they get from Codecademy and classes into becoming developers who can build professional projects. So throughout this quarter, we sought to solve this problem or find solutions to this problem through learning science. In the first sprint, we met with Josh and learned about the concepts of knowledge organization, meaning how experts versus beginners organize what they know about certain topics and how separate concepts connect with each other. So we were interested in how we could apply this to web development. We began by exploring the space, meaning the current learning solutions such as Codecademy, Khan Academy, and documentation that's available online. And then after that initial learning phase, we moved on to testing. We wanted to surface some of these problems by actually eliciting concept maps from both beginners and experts and comparing the differences. So what we did for our first round of testing is we showed both learners and experts the same web page and then asked them to build a concept map of the different concepts that would explain how this website works, but more importantly show how the testers are thinking about how this website works. So here are some examples. We found that people think about this problem in very different ways. We gave them very little guidance in this first round of testing, and we came up with very different results. For example, some people drew pictures like this. Some people drew directed arrows, some people didn't. Some people focused on technical jargon, whereas others focused on words that would just describe features. So we got a lot out of this round of testing, and we were able to start brainstorming research directions and prototypes based on that. But we also wanted to continue testing and hopefully surface more of these gaps. It was pretty clear from this first round of testing that there were obvious gaps that existed in the learner's knowledge organization. And what interested us was whether we could find consistency with these gaps and also how we could address these gaps with a solution. So in our second round of testing, which I will pull up the plan for right now, we restricted the options that the testers had to a word bank. The reasons for this is we knew we had to scope testing in some way because the initial round of testing had way too much variance. By doing this, we were able to make sure that it was clear which connections were missing. It was obvious in the first round of testing that certain concepts were appearing in expert maps but not in beginners maps, and vice versa. But because of this variance, it wasn't clear which connections were missing. So we did this second round of testing, and here are some examples. This also did not go according exactly how expected, but it did highlight an important fact about these maps, which really guided our research direction for the rest of the quarter. And that was that there was a clear difference in how beginners and experts thought about the back end and front end of this website working together, which reminded us of some research that we had seen earlier about learning barriers. It's a paper, here I will pull it up, but it's a paper that describes common learning barriers that beginner programmers encounter, and one of the barriers is described as the coordination barrier, which is about how experts, unlike beginners, are able to take different frameworks, languages, and just concepts that they understand and combine them or use them together to create complex interactions and features. an example of that on this Airbnb page is how do you build a tech solution that takes all of these inputs, and then when you click search, returns relevant results. To experts, it was clear not specifically how it was implemented, but how this could be possible. They could offer a variety of solutions, and they knew which concepts were involved in the construction of this. And that's what was highlighted in these maps. But so yeah, that really guided our research directions. We wanted to start prototyping based on this. We wanted to target this gap, meaning the coordination barrier that learners encounter, and try to find a solution that could really address this and help them uh, use all the knowledge that they have together to do complex things. So in the second sprint, we started brainstorming and we actually built a paper prototype. But that became sort of a turning point in the quarter because this paper prototype was not, um, it didn't really achieve what we wanted to. So we need to take a step back and think more deeply about our design arguments, specifically what we were trying to accomplish and how we were trying to um, address this coordination barrier. At the same time, in the third sprint, we also began a final round of testing. This round of testing was to further explore this area of the coordination barrier, and we did this by doing the same thing where words were available, but also um, we made them use all of the words, so there would be no confusion around that, and also use directed edges to show the flow of information. Um, we felt that this would make it very explicit whether or not the tester understood how information was flowing through this page and therefore whether they had already overcome the coordination barrier. And this again showed what we expected, that the coordination barrier was always present with beginners and it was a problem, and experts usually had a good high level understanding of how to overcome this barrier. So while doing that, we also built our design arguments for the paper prototype. What we wanted to do here was we had various features that we thought would help um, for multiple reasons, which they're all listed in this testing guide. All of these features are things that don't exist in current solutions because rather than focusing on teaching concepts, we want to teach the connections between concepts because those are the gaps that we've been talking about in the concept maps. And so for example, we have the features here: links between concepts, eliminating high-level words, highlighting specific links, and check-ins. Using this, we put together a paper prototype, which we began testing with. We're only in initial rounds of testing right now, but we've already gotten some valuable insight from testing about how beginners would use this to learn. We know this is going to be an iterative process, so we're going to continue working on that into next quarter. But right now we're at a point where we have a paper prototype with all of the features that we think are important, and we've done some brief amount of testing. We're going to iterate one more time before we leave, and then continue testing next quarter. And once we're comfortable with how solid our design arguments are and how we think these features will benefit users, we're going to start building out a tech prototype. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the quarter. One final thing that we have is that I want to show is a picture of this paper prototype. We don't have a ton of pictures because we're still iterating on it and we haven't finalized it, but I can put this in the video so at least there's some idea of what is going on. here are a couple pictures of it. This kind of it brings together a lot of things that we learned throughout the quarter. Most notably, that the guiding high-level description of what the learner is going through is actually essentially a concept map. It's a directed graph, and it's a little bit different, but it's the same idea. And we thought that this was applicable because this really is what we were trying to address. We were trying to address the connections between concepts and how learners think about it. And if learners are able to have knowledge organizations about these concepts that are the same as experts, then they should be able to um, overcome this coordination barrier. So going into next quarter, we're going to continue work on this. And yeah, that's it.